History remembers Cleopatra as a queen of unmatched charm, political genius, and legendary ambition. But behind the gold-painted legends and Hollywood recreations lies a far more dramatic truth, one defined by desperation, risk, and a final gamble that determined the fate of Egypt for thousands of years. The Battle of Actium was not just a naval showdown. It was the moment Cleopatra wagered everything, her kingdom, her dynasty, her legacy, on the man she loved, Mark Antony. What began as a powerful alliance soon spiraled into one of the most tragic endings in ancient history, reshaping the world forever. This is the gripping, reimagined story of Cleopatra's fall, from the haze of battle at Actium to her last attempt to outwit the future Augustus of Rome. Cleopatra's last gamble. For most of her reign, Cleopatra ruled through intelligence, timing, and audacity. She was not born into a peaceful age, nor into a kingdom that could survive on tradition alone. Egypt, once the world's crown of learning and wealth, now lived in the shadow of Rome's expanding power. Cleopatra understood that survival in such an age required alliances and nerve, not isolation. That is why she risked everything on one relationship, one fleet, and one decisive battle. Actium was not merely a naval engagement, it was the throne room of destiny. When she sailed to war beside the Roman titan, Mark Antony, Cleopatra gambled her crown, her bloodline, and her future on the hope that one victory could reorder the world. The road to a doomed alliance. Cleopatra and Antony were not simply lovers in a gilded romance. They were partners in a brutal political dance. Both were fighting the same enemy, Octavian, Caesar's young heir, whose quiet mind hid relentless ambition. Rome had become a battlefield not of swords but of legitimacy. Cleopatra possessed legitimacy through lineage and wealth. Antony possessed it through reputation and command. Together they believed they could challenge Rome with an empire centered on Egypt. It was a fantasy fueled by power, and power has a way of convincing even the cleverest minds. The Mediterranean itself seemed to whisper promises to them. Control the sea lanes, seize the narrative of empire, and Egypt would rise from a fading kingdom into the axis of the known world. Dawn over Actium. On the morning of September 2nd, 31 BC, the world seemed to hold its breath. Antony's fleet advanced from the narrow bay of Actium, Cleopatra's ships behind him like a jeweled shadow. The water was bright, the wind uncertain, and the future immense. At first, Antony's commanders fought hard and well, cutting into the center of Octavian's line. For a brief, fragile moment, escape appeared possible. But wars are not decided by plans alone. Signals were misunderstood, ships drifted out of formation, and confusion spread faster than confidence. In a single turn of fate, the ordered dance of war collapsed into chaos. The turn that broke the world. Then it happened. Cleopatra's fleet veered toward open water. Whether this was a secret strategy or the instinct of survival remains disputed, but history rarely pauses for nuance. Antony followed her, leaving his formation fractured and exposed. The Roman enemy did not hesitate. Octavian's fleet surged forward like a blade into heartwood, cutting down Antony's ships one by one. Fire glowed on water where banners once flew. Hulls cracked. Shouts vanished into smoke. The Mediterranean swallowed Egypt's last great gamble. By sunset, the sea had turned into a graveyard, and the dream of an Eastern empire lay shattered among the waves. A defeat without recovery. Actium did not merely defeat Antony and Cleopatra, it erased the possibility of recovery. Armies defected, allies disappeared. What few loyal commanders remained could not repair a loss so large it bent history itself. Octavian now stood unrivaled. The Roman Republic's last illusion faded, and in its place rose the iron outline of empire. Cleopatra returned to Egypt not as a triumphant queen, but as a ruler in retreat, calculating survival with a ruler's precision and a mother's terror. The damage was irreversible. Actium had not ended the war alone. It had ended an ancient world. Antony's slow collapse. For Antony, the defeat was a living wound. He was not built for half-worlds or uncertain futures. Once he had stood among Rome's giants, fearless and adored. Now he watched letters dry without answers and banners fade without followers. Depression settled into him like winter. His confidence withered. He knew Octavian would not forgive. He also knew he could no longer command fate. Cleopatra, strong as ever in crisis, tried to revive him with promises and plans. But grief is not an enemy that surrenders to speeches. Antony had lost the empire he had imagined, and with it the man he used to be, the queen who chose strategy over sorrow. Cleopatra refused to drown in mourning. She had never been queen by tears alone. She moved fast, quietly, and without ceremony. Her son by Caesar, Caesarion, was now a target carved in stone. Octavian did not merely want Egypt. He wanted to erase any shadow of rival claim. Cleopatra understood this, and with a mother's steel, she sent her son eastward with treasure and guards toward lands beyond Rome's attention. It was not escape alone she sought for him. It was possibility. One day, she dreamed, he might return with an army and rewrite what Rome had written in blood. The offer that cut deeper than any sword. When Octavian's envoys arrived, they did not hide the truth. Cleopatra could keep her crown if she surrendered Antony. Dead or alive. It was the kind of bargain empires offer when they believe themselves already victorious. Cleopatra examined the terms with the same calm she had once used to charm Caesar. But this time she refused. Antony had chosen her at Actium. She would choose him now. Power could be negotiated. Loyalty could not. With that single choice, she rejected safety and embraced tragedy. History would remember her not as a coward seeking a throne, but as a ruler who placed love on the same scale as empire. Alexandria, under a shadow. As Octavian drew nearer, Alexandria felt like a city holding its own funeral before the body had died. Cleopatra ordered fortifications strengthened and supplies counted, not because she believed victory still lived, but because she believed dignity did. Citizens watched soldiers drill with hollow eyes. The harbor, once alive with sails and song, now braced for silence. Cleopatra moved through her palace like a general moving through a battlefield, measured and exact. People mistake this period for despair. It was not despair, it was preparation. The tomb that became a weapon. Cleopatra's final strategy was both brilliant and bleak. She built a mausoleum within Alexandria and filled it with treasure drawn from every corner of her kingdom. Gold, jewels, monuments, Egypt's wealth poured into a single stone promise. It looked like a queen preparing for death, but it was something else entirely. Cleopatra meant to bargain with the only currency Rome respected: wealth. If Octavian wanted Egypt's riches, he would have to negotiate with her living body. The tomb became a locked chess piece, a threat wrapped in architecture. Even in defeat, she forced Rome to speak to her as an equal. A kingdom between surrender and silence. The noose tightened. Antony's spirit fractured. Cleopatra's hopes narrowed to corridors. The city stood on the edge of conquest, its future measured in hours. Diplomats came and left with nothing in their pockets but emptiness. Cleopatra waited behind walls that whispered of betrayal. The woman who had once commanded festivals and fleets now commanded only fate itself, and fate listened without speaking. Death as a final sovereign choice. Cleopatra did not die as a victim dragged by history's chain. Whatever poison or serpent delivered her end, the truth remains simple and terrible. She chose it. She would not be paraded through Rome as proof of conquest. She would not bow into someone else's story. The queen who had ruled through will ruled her own ending. With her death, Egypt passed from a living kingdom into Rome's possession. Temples became trophies. Rivers became borders. The old world receded, the empire that rose from her fall. Octavian returned to Rome with Egypt's wealth and the weight of destiny on his shoulders. Soon he would become Augustus, Rome's first emperor. The battle that had ended Cleopatra's reign became the cornerstone of imperial rule. Rome did not simply defeat a queen, it absorbed a civilization. And yet, even as monuments rose and titles multiplied, Cleopatra's shadow endured. If this story moved you, if Cleopatra's courage, love, and sacrifice made you feel history instead of just hearing it, then don't let the journey end here. Tap the like and hit subscribe and join our growing community of history lovers. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss another epic tale of fallen empires, legendary rulers, and battles that changed everything. History isn't dead. It's alive here, and your next story is already waiting.